Welcome back to Just Talking, and we have a great guest for us today, and that is Nia Peeples, who is an excellent dancer, actor, singer, author. And Nia, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure.
Well, let's start off. What area did you start off with? Was it the acting, was it the singing, or was it the dancing?
It was actually all of them
Really?
because, yeah, um, I got my first job while I was in college, and I was actually a voice major at UCLA, and quit with after 6 months. My parents were mortified because I had a scholarship, and they were like, "What?" you know, the first child that would finish college has a scholarship to UCLA, and she's turning it in. What? But I was really on fire to be able to dance and sing, and that's really what I grew up doing, meaning in high school and junior high school was a lot of singing and dancing. So it was very glee like. So that's really where I flourished and what I loved. And then a couple of years after leaving college, after 6 months, after my entire 6 months, I just wanted to hit it and start auditioning. And that's when I landed Fame. So Fame was all of those things. Yeah.
How is the audition process? Is it like they say, like 1,000 dancers show up and only one or two get picked?
Fame was just like that.
Mm.
Fame was quite exceptional because they were looking for no-name people. So they had cattle calls. Normally what happens in the audition process for a TV series is they have their list of go-to people that have a resume already. People who kind of they qualify in terms of their name value, and then all the stats of, what do they look like, do they fit the role, and they bring those people in first. And they also, at the same time, they kind of are auditioning up and coming people just in case. But with Fame, it was really an open call. It was cattle call because they were really, really looking out there for the next new whatever. And I think that may have been part of the marketing strategy for them too, to be, instead of just auditioning for someone for the role, to actually do it as it would really be in the High School of Performing Arts, like open the doors, just like Fame the movie, open the doors, whoever can come in.
Bruno, this is our big chance, man. Don't you want success?
And so the lineup was horrendous. I mean, I remember I was so nervous, and I got the audition, and the lineup, it was at MGM Studios, what used to be MGM Studios, and that's the studios where they made all the old musicals and all of that sort of thing. So you're already walking on the lot going, wow. And now it's Sony. But back then it was, we lined up right outside Rehearsal Hall A, and the line, I couldn't even see the end of the line. And we would just stand there and wait for Rehearsal Hall A. And Rehearsal Hall A was the famous place where Gene Kelly, in fact, I ran into him at Rehearsal Hall A. They
Really?
used to rehearse all the MGM, musicals there and stuff. So it's this massive room with bars and mirrors and a wood floor, and they had a baby grand piano in there, and they had the table with the people sitting behind the table. And Debbie Allen was there taking you through dance steps one at a time. She was auditioning us one at a time, so it wasn't like other dance calls where they have a multitude of dancers. That's how they auditioned the dancers. But for the starring roles, the lead roles, it was one at a time. But she came in with every person and took them through a dance step. Gary Scott, who was the musical director, said, "What are you singing for us?" You hand him the music, he puts the music and starts playing, and off you go. So that was the process. And I waited, oh Lord, I don't even know how long. It might have been a couple of months or so. I don't exactly remember. Because they were auditioning in New York, they were auditioning in Chicago, in Miami. Yeah, and then I remember they said, "You'll know by 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon on this date." And they waited till 5 o'clock in the afternoon on that date, and my whole life changed in that moment.
Why do you think that show was successful? Because some movies, when they go to TV show, the movie's really good, and then the TV show, whereas this balanced it out, and it was the people behind the scenes. Let's hear about that.
Well, it's interesting because there's been, generally speaking, they will say musical shows do not work in television. They flop all the time. So people don't want to put their money in it. But the thing that was so unique about Fame, the music and the dance and all of that was amazing. But it was really more about the quest, and the statement of what the show was. The heart of the show basically said, listen, if you've got dreams, they're worth your putting everything you have into it, because that dream is who you are. That dream is telling you who you are. And everybody has that dream. Not everybody's dream is to be a dancer or a singer or an actor, but everybody has that call. And so even if you weren't into the arts, it really pulled at your heartstrings because it's a universal theme.
So then at what point did you veer off and wanted to do like a solo career on singing?
I remember being in New York City, and Janet Jackson was actually on the show the same time I was. She was hired the same year I was hired, and Jesse Borrego, the three of us were like the new kids that year. And so when we were filming in New York, the Victory Tour, the Jackson 5 Victory
Yeah,
Tour,
that's right.
right? So of course we all got tickets, but I had to work at 5 o'clock in the morning, so I didn't go. I was like, I just went, I really want to see this, but I need to be fresh for 5 a.m. the next day. So I didn't go. So I was that dedicated. So toward the end of the middle of my third year, it was feeling like it was holding me back. Because the other kids, a lot of them, they had already been on the show for 7 years. For me, it was year 3. I came in the middle of it. And so, when you are young like that, some of them started at 15, 18, they were young. You're going to last for 8 years on a show. You find how to live with it. You can't be so intense every day, but I was completely intense with everything. So come the third year, I really felt like, I got my first movie. I had offers from record labels. I felt like I was being held back. And so it just felt like the right thing to do.
I need that storm drain piece today, Tony.
The jury broke for lunch. I was hungry. All right, I'll go back.
Thank you.
Well, one film I did like that you were in was that Tower of Terror with Steven Guttenberg. They show it every year. It's a fun movie. How did you get involved in that one?
I auditioned like everybody else. And it was really fun for me. That kind of thing was super fun for me because I didn't ever get hired for a lot of humor, but humor is my most natural preset. For some reason, I was always, hire Nia, she can cry. Or, she has big eyes, so she looks innocent. So if we kill her, people will be sad. It was the dramatic thing is what I got hired for, but I think it was only because I didn't relax into enough of the humor and get enough of those roles. But that was, for me, it was a breeze and so much fun.
When? Halloween, 1939. Where? The Hollywood Tower Hotel. Who? Sally Shine and 4 others. What?
How was it working with Steve Guttenberg?
Oh, he's hilarious.
Hey, Mr. Todd, how about a picture on your big screen? Okay, everybody.
You were also on The Fosters.
I loved working on The Fosters.
Oh, yeah.
I really, really did. It was interesting going from Pretty Little Liars to The Fosters because the feeling of it, the age range was the same. It was the same network, but the kind of the central aspect of what the shows represented was very different. With Pretty Little Liars, it was a whodunit. Oh my gosh, sitting on the edge of your seat. Everyone in Rosewood was impeccably beautiful and impeccably dressed. And so it was all about fashion and girls being good friends. In The Fosters, it was about imperfection, and it was about real life things that happen that aren't so sensational. The kids in The Fosters were constantly dealing with real life issues.
Now I know there's a book out there and your website. Let's hear all about what's going on so people can get involved.
Yeah, you bet. So about 5 years ago, my youngest child went off to college, and a year early, and my 4th marriage broke up, and I was like, what in the world? And I just went, wow, okay, Nia, who are you? You've been doing the same thing forever. You now don't have a family that you have to feed, because so much of what drove me was keeping my family together, keeping it happy. That was a form of expression for me. And I realized okay, that's done. I mean, my kids are always my kids, but they don't need me in the same way. They're pushing off into their own way. What do you want? And I couldn't answer the question. Like, and I sat on the beach and I wept because I knew that if I couldn't answer that simple question, what do I want? Then I was never going to be happy, ever. So I started basically walking and wandering and knowing that I needed to get back in touch with my inner voice. Like, who is Nia really? Who is she? And so the rule for me was, look, when you feel an inspiration, step on it. I don't care if it's big, like, oh, I want to go to Peru, or small, like, oh, I want some more tomato on that sandwich. Answer it, because I had gotten so used to, if someone said, Nia, what do you want? What do you want to do this weekend? I go, well, I want to take care of this for my daughter, take care of this for my son, take care of this for my husband. I want to make sure the house needs to get this, blah, blah, blah. You know, my want had to do with fulfilling the desires, the needs of everybody else. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, especially if you have kids, and some of it is normal. But you cannot lose touch with that part of who you are, and I had. And so for the last 5 years, I've been really increasing that guidance system, and a much truer Nia has emerged. Now I've written, a children's book called The Little Apple Tree. That was just something I woke up and I knew I needed to write it, and it became a children's book. And now that children's book, I didn't need to know, was it going to have a publisher? Is it going to make money? In fact, I refused to go settle on a deal with some publishing company that was going to burn all the books if they didn't sell. People don't know that that's how the American publishers do it. You have a deal, if your books don't fly off the shelf in the first 30 to 60 days, they burn them. They don't even let you buy them. They don't let someone else buy them because they don't want anyone else succeeding with them. They burn them. And that's the system I don't want to belong to anymore. So I'm creating from the system, I think, the way that it should be, which is, this is a true expression. It's helping people. Now other people have taken it. Some teachers have taken it and created a curriculum around it in New Mexico. So it's in the elementary school there. And what they're finding, they've implemented it from kindergarten up through 5th grade. And they've found that the emotional health of the children has improved so much that their reading scores went up by 68%. And their math scores went up by 86%. And it's now mandatory reading Bogota, Colombia at the high school level. So it just has its own kind of very compassionate way of teaching self-love and standing up in the truth of who you are. So that's what that looks like for me. What else does it look like for me? I continue traveling as I feel led. During these 5 years, I've had a lot of mystical experiences. I understand that I am more than this body. I am more than the senses that come from just this body. I know it. I've felt it. I've experienced it. And it's such an incredible sense of wholeness that's the place that I want to create from for now. So right now I'm in Tulum, Mexico, and I'm writing another book. As it just writing as it comes. It's called Confessions of a Serial Monogamist, Journey Through the Men I Love to the Me I Love. I'm doing a podcast with the mothers, 2 of the cast members from Pretty Little Liars. They called us the Wine Moms because of a scene that we'd had in the show. And it's a rewatch podcast. So what we do is we watch the episodes of Pretty Little Liars, and then we comment on them. Now, if someone had just said, do you want to do a podcast? That's not the podcast I would do. I would be interviewing Bruce Lipton or Greg Braden, or I would be talking about sacred geometry and unity and all of that. But when Leslie Farah called, she's the other actress on it, the producing one, called and said, do you want to do this? Because I'm already doing a podcast. Do you want to do this podcast? And it didn't make any sense to me, but it felt like fun. And so I said, yes, let's try it for 3 episodes. And what it has turned into is this beautiful place where people come in and they listen to us talk about it. But what you end up with is much deeper conversations about life and fun. They're funny. I mean, the 3 of us are really funny. But it's really, you get this sense that there are three women who have lived a little bit of life. And the storylines of Pretty Little Liars and the behind the scenes stories are dropping in subjects that people want to hear about. How do you negotiate marriage or divorce or dating on a set? Or what does it mean when someone cheats on you? Or what is it when you didn't graduate from high school? Or have you ever felt small? It turns into these really poignant conversations with an amazing sense of self-forgiveness and self-compassion. And so that's why the podcast is doing so well. It's in the top 1% already. And, you know, yeah. And that's the reason that I stay with it, because I realize it's bridging people back to their own worthiness. And that is priceless.
So Human Harmonics on your website. Maybe you can explain about that.
Yeah. So Human Harmonics is, all it is a community. It's a community where basically it says align with your true design. You know, that's, you are quantum, you're quantum. So come here and line up with the truth of who you are, which is love. And we give you tools on how to do that. Some of it's meditation, some of it's, we're giving away a lot of free Zoom calls, basically, where everybody gets on and we lock into the heart space, because we've learned a lot of science around the heart. I don't know if you're familiar with the Heart Math Institute. People think the heart is just a pump, but it's not. It's electric, and it sends more signals to the brain than the other way around. And every organ in your body entrains to the heart. So if the heart is spazzing out electrically, the heart is magnetic, but it does have an electrical pulse, right? So it pumps blood, but it also sends off an electromagnetic field. And if the electrical pulses are kind of spastic, that's what stress is. That's stress, and it creates all the hormones, the stress hormones. And so if you think of the heart like a conductor of an orchestra, and the conductor can't get itself together, no one in the orchestra is going to be able to play that beautiful symphony. So this is what's happening to our bodies. That's when disease starts happening and things start falling apart. It's all based around the heart. And that electromagnetic field goes several feet outside and interacts with other people's fields. And that's why you can feel people. You can walk into a room and without seeing anything, and you can feel if it feels heavy or if it feels joyful. Well, what is that? It's your electromagnetic field. It's your torus field interacting with other people. And so this is some of the stuff we give people, the tools as to how to come back into the heart space, especially now in the middle of all of this. I'm going to call it a global reset, where all the systems are like, they're pulling the plug on all of it so they can turn it into something else, which makes us all kind of go, oh, okay, how does this work? There's so much insecurity and fear, and a lot of fear mongering going on out there, which is, you know, impacting your ability to stay healthy. So we give everybody the tools to come on and join together with us. Just by intention, you can set the intention to join heart fields and create a harmony so that your body can completely function. You think better, you have access to more information that is outside the realm of something you've learned when you have that heart-brain coherence. And so together we learn how to do that.
Yeah, I could sense another book coming. Boy, very interesting, great information. People want to learn more. What's your website that people can log on to learn more about you and your work?
My website, niapeoples.com, has basic information about, you know, my career kind of a thing. Human Harmonics has more about the live stuff that's going on. My blogs are over there. I'm now blogging under my birth name, which is Verinia. And that's, Nia is short for Verinia. So my parents gave me the name Verinia, but they realized, oh my God, she's so tiny, we have to call her Nia. But I realized I always loved the name Verinia. Yeah, so I'm blogging under Verinia.
All right. Well, we'll definitely check out the blogs. We'll check out the website and the podcast as well. So
Yeah.
Nia, you're just an excellent, once again, actress, singer, dancer, performer, and author. And thank you so much for talking with us today.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. And thank you for doing everything you're doing for your community. People need to stay connected right now, for sure.
How about a picture on your big screen? Okay, everybody, we're gonna go on to me, all right?